You're live. Uh-oh.
You're live.
We gotta turn that. Let's turn the volume off. We are live. And you know what, Sherry? There is at least one other person in here with us. It's not just you and this other version of me.
Right Who is it? Can you say hello?
Yeah, say hi, whoever you are. Or not, you know, if we're putting you on the spot. We can go ahead.
It's Janelle.
Janelle is watching?
That would be awesome.
That'd be cool. Or Kaser at this point. Look, there's another person.
I prefer Janelle.
Whoever you are, thank you. Welcome for joining us. So you know what? I'm going to try. Oh, but that person left. All right. I'm going to do one thing, and then another person left. Now it's just me. It's all good. You know what? If no one comes, it's still just you and me, and we can talk about Big Brother, and anyone can see it.
I'm fine with that. I would talk about it anyway. I would be talking about Big Brother right now in bed next to Pete.
That's right. And we are dressed for bed, by the way, if you guys can't tell. You know, we watch TV pretty late at night, and it's after our kids go to sleep. And so, you know, it's usually like around 11 something when we're just going to bed. But we're decided to talk to you tonight. So here's the deal. We're talking about Big Brother Season 22, Episode 14. Okay? So it's Sunday night. It's when people get nominated. Who is going home, right? And so who's going to be on the block? Because things can definitely change between now and Thursday.
Christmas was head of household.
Christmas was head of household.
By a fluke.
Yes.
I think that's important to point out. Shouldn't earn that.
So there's going to be spoilers. We actually know a little bit, too, about stuff that's coming up later in the week, and we might talk about that, too. So just be warned. There's spoilers for Big Brother information that's out there right now. All right, so at this point, Sherry, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's see if I'm missing anybody. The people that are in the house, the players, the All-Stars are Enzo, Devon, David, Christmas, Tyler, Kevin, Cody, Nicole F., Memphis, Ian, and Bailey. Am I forgetting anybody?
I don't think so.
Yeah. And so there's like a whole bunch of alliances going on.
Did you get Dani?
Did I say Dani? I think I did say Dani. Yeah. And so Dani was a big focus of tonight's episode. But more so it was Bailey and Devon, which were the big
Bay and Day,
yes. And for tonight's episode, we just started to see the pieces start to, you know, things started to come to pieces for the Slick Six. I don't think they're going to be around anymore. And
big surprise.
Yeah. And Bailey and Devon kind of announced it. They announced it because during the head of household ceremony, they noticed that Cody put them up right away, the two of them together. And Cody, at the very beginning of the episode...
Is he the one who started it?
I think like he was...
He took the first shot kind of in the head of household competition?
He like took the first shot at them.
Okay.
But he was thrown off because of Kaser's speech. And then also because Kevin put him on the block, right? Or put him up. Yeah,
I'm not really clear why he did that.
He was just really flustered.
You really think he was just flustered? You don't think there was some sort of reason for that?
I think maybe it's like 50-50, or there's like a little bit of, you know, being flustered.
Right, he didn't get interviewed enough for us to really know.
Yeah. So anyway, Cody in the very beginning of the episode said he had to do a lot of damage control, and so he went around talking to Devon and Bailey, and they just weren't buying it. And the whole episode seemed like it was Bailey and Devon just not buying what other people were saying. And it's cool because they're finally becoming keen to what's actually going on in the house.
I think it's too little. I think it's a little late though. They let 4 people who would have helped them and been on their side go out the door, and they actually had a hand in those people going out the door. So if they're in jeopardy this week, I actually think they deserve it.
Yeah. So you know, like that's kind of what happened in their own seasons that they were on before this All-Star season too. You know, they feel like they're secure, they feel like they're in a good spot, but then they realize, oh, there's things going on behind the scenes. And like people like Ian and Kaser, they're kind of a little bit more keen to that earlier on. But unfortunately, as we know, Kaser got voted off, right? Right.
But I don't understand why Bailey and Devon have not learned from past mistakes. Like that frustrates me with both of those girls. They're too trusting. They're emotional. They just let other people run the show, and they only get upset when they're actually nominated. Yeah. They don't play the game the way a chess game would be, where you look ahead, a few moves ahead. They don't do that. They just wait until they're in jeopardy. It's frustrating, and it means to me that they are not deserving to win a game like Big Brother, but it's still annoying and sad to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what's interesting going along with that point in like Big Brother in general, right? Is that you feel like these people have watched the show, right? And they see the diary room sessions with people like Tyler, with Enzo, so they know how these people can be in the house, right? But then
I hope they've watched it. I mean, just because you've been on the show, I guess doesn't necessarily mean you watched the show.
Yeah, but I don't know. The way that these people talk, just all the cast members, it sounds like they're just big fans of the show. You know, maybe some of them don't watch it the way that we do, and you guys who, you know, two people that are in here with us do. But, you know, if you watch Tyler's seasons, for instance, your main thought would be, let's get this guy out immediately.
Tyler is probably the biggest threat.
Yes.
Tyler and Cody, and no one worries about them. Kaser brought them up. Devon and Bailey.
Yeah.
Like they noticed, but they are more worried about Dani and Nicole, who are legit threats as well. But the men just skate by on this show. I don't know why no one's worried about them. They are the ones who always win. Women never win Big Brother. Not never.
Yeah, I mean,
rarely.
Nicole's an example of one that has.
But it's rare.
It is rare, yeah. And so that kind of brings up a bigger topic that we were talking about. You know, we're walking around with our kids and we start talking about Big Brother today, right? And we're talking about just the different types of players, right? Now, so let's say if you look at Tyler, for instance, right? Whenever he's in the diary room, he's always sitting there talking about how he's worried about his game, how he's worried that people are going to be onto it, right? And then other characters, other players, they talk about things that aren't about strategy. Like, for instance, Devon, for example, she was saying how, like, oh, it's going to be dark in that room, and I don't do the dark, right? Now, I know all people on the show throw in little anecdotes, little tidbits like that, but the players that are, like, truly playing, the ones that are making the big alliance in the beginning and going all the way to the end, they're always worried about other people catching on to them, you know?
Or in the case of this game in the dark where they're looking for the 3 powers, they're worried about finding the powers. They're worried about who's going to find the powers and how they need to get there first.
Right.
Devon's worried about it being dark.
Right. And the thing is, I don't want to, you know, talk down about Devon too much, because I actually really was impressed with some of the things that she did in this episode in particular.
And I like her. Yeah,
and she's very likable, absolutely. But like,
which makes some of her gameplay all the more frustrating. But go on.
Well, she had this one good strategy during that. So you know, we're saying in the dark, but just to clarify, if anyone's watching this video later on, there's this competition in what's called the Big Brother basement, where all the lights are off, and the house guests have to find 3 like 3D tangible symbols and put them into these shapes that they fit into. And there's all these other symbols that are like red herrings that are misleading them, right? So they have to find the right shape, put it in the right slot, and they get a special power. And there's 3 powers they can get, right? So and
I just want to say it was held in the basement of the Big Brother house, which I don't know if they've ever had a basement before, have they?
Well, they've definitely done things. I mean, so like,
I just thought it was sort of funny to have a basement, and I thought Enzo provided a little comic relief, which he often does. Talking about how he lived in a basement.
Yeah, he's like, I lived in a basement. Yeah, I can relate, Enzo. I'm from New York too.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say was they've done these pitch black competitions before.
Yeah, but I think it was like outside.
Yeah, usually what they do is they take the outside space and they make it into like an enclosed space, and it's completely dark.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they did that. Like, what was weird about this, I don't know if you noticed this, right? But like when they were going into the basement, they were actually like upstairs. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they were like upstairs, kind of going to like where the have-nots room is. You know, okay. and people that are like huge Big Brother fans, if you end up watching this, you can be like, no, you're totally wrong. But I'm pretty sure they were upstairs.
Okay.
Should I go on a tangent or should I keep talking about Devon?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to go on one more tangent while I'm still thinking about it, okay? So you guys can like be like, this is interesting. Or you could be like, these people are annoying. Is that with the...
We're just obsessed. We're a little obsessed with Big Brother, so, forgive us.
And I want to also point out that this is actually my second live show I've ever done. And this is my first live show that my wife has ever done. So.
And it's my first live show.
Yes. So anyway, the tangent I'm going to go on is when they finally showed who won these powers, right? Did you guys notice that in the diary room when they were talking that like they focused on their hands, like real strangely? Like they focused on Christmas playing with her necklace, right? While she was talking. Then they focused on like Dani kind of grinding her hands into her lap. And then they focused on David grinding his hand into his leg, right? And I just thought that was really weird. It's like, why were they doing these shots? And my
it was unusual camera work for Big Brother.
Yeah.
In the diary room, they don't usually show their hands unless, I mean, they just don't. They don't usually show that. So yeah, I agree. I don't know if they got a new cameraman or if they just wanted to show anxiety or excitement or whatever was being expressed in the hand movements.
My thought was that like they had to say their line at a different point, and they just kind of, you know, inserted that line, the audio, into the shot, and they had to be like, oh well, let's just not show their mouths. So that's why they showed their hands. You
that's probably what it is, but I wish it was something more interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, for the two people that are watching this live, you were awesome. and please write stuff in the chat so that we can respond to you too, because I want to talk to you, the two people that are watching at 11, 12.
Yeah, we'd love to hear thoughts.
Yes. If you are Jay or Rhonda, I definitely want to hear your thoughts. If you're random Big Brother fans, do it. Come on. Anyway, so the thing I was trying to say before is Devon did do some strategizing. At one point when they're in this, dark contest, she decides to like take her piece that doesn't fit and hold it over the shape that it's not going to go into. And the whole idea is that she's trying to make the people around her think that they're not going that it's already in there and they can't use it. I thought that was real clever.
She did some blocking.
Yeah. Which is ironic because I think it was maybe even the blocker power.
That was one of the powers. Yeah, I don't know if it was the one, but it was good thinking, but it's a defensive move. It's not offensive. She needs to like get out there and find the shape.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we should tell them what the three powers are, right? So the three powers are, I actually wrote it down. And since it's live, I can just consult my notes. You know, it's all good. But like
the blocker.
Oh, she doesn't need it.
I know that one.
Yeah. Okay, so say the blocker.
The blocker. I did say it.
Yeah, but what is the blocker?
I
wrote it. I wrote it. And by the way, Christmas found the blocker. So the blocker is that it prevents yourself or another player from being a replacement during one of the next 3 veto ceremonies. So since Christmas was the head of household, it kind of doesn't matter for this week for her, right? But next week, if she, upsets someone.
All of the powers are good for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. Right. So that's the blocker. Do you remember what the blocker was shaped like?
A lightning bolt?
A blocker. It was a hand. Like I'm blocking you. Okay. The next one is
if that's important to you, that's great.
I was just quizzing you to make this more interesting, for the two people that are there. So for replay is basically allows the head of household to play back to back. So like if you won head of household, you could actually compete in head of household the following week.
Oh, and Dani got that.
Yes.
And I guess I'm impressed that Dani finally did something, but besides plant seeds, she actually won something. However, she immediately was kind of bummed that that's the power she got because she lamented how she never wins any competitions. That sort of frustrates me. I'm not a fan of the players who can't win or who just admittedly are bad at everything. I want a little more positive thinking. I want some effort. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too because then you have players that kind of their track record does show that they don't really win anything.
Even so, try.
Oh yeah.
Try.
No, right. But one of my example I was gonna say is David, right? He kind of hasn't won anything, and he got voted out, or he got kicked out right away last season, and so he was super ecstatic to win the power that he won, which was the Disruptor.
I personally think that was the best one. That's the best power.
So do you remember what the Disruptor was?
Yeah, he could cancel one of the nominations.
Yeah, and that's for the next 3 ceremonies.
Including a nomination for himself.
Right.
So he can do it for a friend or ally, or he can do it for himself. And what power is better than that? It's basically the power of veto. Yeah.
Did we explain what the blocker was? I did, right?
The thing that Christmas got?
Yeah.
I don't know. Say it again, maybe. Real quick.
Yeah. So it's during the power of veto, the veto ceremony. So if someone uses the power of veto and they take the person down, and then the head of household has to put a new person up, then you can be You can't do that. I'm blocking you with my hand.
Which is not helpful for Christmas this week since she is head of household.
Right.
But it could be in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I just think it's kind of cool because to me, I always feel like the veto ceremony is so crucial, especially when you can backdoor people. Because like I feel like I would always try to backdoor people if I was on Big Brother.
I feel like that's smart.
Yeah, because like the ceremony that we had tonight, the nomination ceremony, it's almost like a show. You're putting up people, but your real people are who you line up next, right? And when you have both of your targets up on the Sunday night, it's just because you're cool with either one of them going home.
But there's no guarantee that either one of them will go home because one could win the power of veto and then the other could go home.
Right. I'm saying that.
I'm sorry. One could win the power veto, and then the replacement nominee could go home.
Right.
And then neither of your people could go home. But I don't know. I like the backdoor too.
Yeah.
You can't win veto. You can't get out of it.
Yeah. So we're kind of a little all over the place, but that's okay. It's our first time doing this. And
this is legit how we would talk about it.
Yes.
Which I don't really want to change how we talk about it.
I don't.
This is a great, genuine pleasure for me to watch Big Brother 3 nights a week, every summer. Yeah. So we're just here to share our joy, our Christmas joy.
This is the joy for me, like Oprah with bread, right? This is the joy for me watching Big Brother, and so okay, so let's talk about some other people in the house. So Tyler, right? I actually kind of don't like Tyler now. It's not because I think he's a bad person. I'm not a fan of players where things kind of just go their way and no one really truly challenges them.
So do you not like Cody because everything's going his way?
Yeah. Well, okay. So that brings up another thing I wanted to talk about too, is that what's interesting about like Big Brother itself is that you can watch the same players in 2 different seasons and you could really like them that first season. But then when they come back, based on the situation, you could start to dislike them.
Yeah, that happened to me with Nicole.
Yeah, Nicole F. We were big fans of Nicole after the first 2 times that she was
happy.
on.
I was happy for her that she won, although we both knew that Paul should have won that season. But it was she was a nice, cool girl, and it was like her second time to play. And I was happy that a girl finally won, and she did put in effort and work, and she did play. Just again, not as amazing as Paul.
Yeah.
But this season, she's been really annoying.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's just that, and we were talking about this when we were with our kids before too, is that Big Brother kind of has like a predictable dynamic. We were saying this before, that in the very beginning of the season, and please chime in too if you're a fan of Big Brother. In the very beginning of the season, you have the clever players that happen to be good at winning comps too. You have like the Codys and the Tylers and just give me an example from another season.
I just think those two, just leave it there because they're extraordinary people. I think in life there are extraordinary people who are good at many things.
Yeah.
And they're also good looking. And so they just have a lot of gifts from God or whatever.
Yeah.
And Tyler and Cody, I think both are people like that. So they're really good at competitions. They're smart. They're good looking. And
charismatic.
Yes. It's almost not fair to play against them.
Yeah.
They really are each other's biggest competition. And instead of going after each other, which would have been very exciting and interesting, they've aligned, which I guess is smart of them. They're very smart players. But I do feel like who's going to win between those two? I'm getting ahead of myself, but I can't stop thinking about how they're the real matchup in this season.
Yeah. And I think it's probably going to be a little boring because I think it might actually end up that the 2 of them are at the very end.
If they let each other go to the end, then they're not as good of players as I think. I think they have to eventually knock each other out because they're the best players.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing. That's kind of like your whole point that you're making, right? Is that there's been no talk about getting either of them out, right? No one ever talks about taking Cody out. No one ever talks about taking Tyler out. Look at our first comment. It's from Jay Twizzle. I think I know who Jay Twizzle is. Wink. I thought Tyler's conversation with Bailey was interesting. He gave Bailey information. She spilled it, and he tried to clean it up without upsetting Bailey. Very good point, Jay Twizzle.
Yeah, I know. He's great. He's
emphasis on the J.
He's emotionally smart. What's the words for that? Emotionally intelligent.
Emotional intelligence.
He's got emotional intelligence, and so does Cody. Like they know how to not upset people, or they're careful about it. They make an effort not to do it. However, the wheels are always turning. Everything they does has a reason. And I probably wouldn't know it if Tyler was sitting next to me in the Big Brother house. However, all these people had the opportunity to watch him play, and they should know how smart and strategic and how everything he does is for a reason. Yeah, I do think Tyler is the scariest, biggest threat. Yeah.
Well, and so, you know, it's interesting too, because like,
and he's my pick to win the game. I'm just going to go out on a limb.
So, okay. So I kind of want to like double back to the point I was making too, but I feel like it ties into this. I feel like Tyler has an emotional intelligence that you're saying. Mm-hmm. And so therefore he tries to act with logic when he's dealing with people. You know,
well, he tried to calm Bailey down, who was like a very intense, emotional player. Right. I think it might have worked eventually.
It might have.
It didn't at first. At first, she like left the room and went and cried and stuff. And he did come in and try even harder to smooth that over, and it might have worked. And I can't believe that Bailey's actually being more emotional than Devon, but I'm actually a little kind of impressed with Devon the past couple of episodes. Yeah. She almost won that head of household competition.
Oh, that was so good.
She's really kind of the winner. That was just stupid that Christmas won that. Oh, yeah, she didn't do anything to win that.
Yeah, but what you're saying, right, is that they actually mentioned this in the episode too. I think Enzo said it when he was talking to Christmas about emotional players and how you have to watch out for them. And Enzo listed a couple of people. He listed Devon, he listed Bailey. He also listed Nicole, which was kind of interesting. So some people have taken shots at Nicole, right?
Well, she hasn't been nominated.
She hasn't been nominated, but, you know, there hasn't been the opportunity to nominate a lot of people because it's been kind of Kaser and Janelle for a while. Kevin kind of thrown on there.
It's just not a good excuse. She's won before.
I know. Yeah, get those two. Yeah, get those two.
I feel like those two should be really obvious. But they came in with allies.
Yeah. So, so kind of doubling back to what we were talking about before, there are these players that the ones that just are just going from the very beginning, like Tyler, and then like Paul and stuff too, where they're just friendly with everyone and people trust them. They think they're funny. And then you have these sort of alpha male players, right? That they're just as good at comps as these other players we were just talking about, but these alpha males, their one characteristic that's different is that they're very in your face and very cocky, and they don't try to hide it.
But you're talking about past seasons. I don't think we really have those alphas this season.
Correct. And I know that CBS must have been making a real effort to not cast that type of person, because I know that last season with Mickey was pretty upsetting for fans.
Well, they're controversial.
Yeah, they're controversial. I mean, we had Mickey, and then who was the other guy too? It was I
think Jack. He looked like Aquaman.
Yeah, he looked like Jason Momoa. Yeah, that's right.
What a couple of dicks.
Yeah. Hey guys, if you're watching, I think they're one of the three.
I mean, I'm actually grateful we aren't going to have a Holly Mickey type romance, which was just depressing and hard to watch.
Yes.
But I do think he kind of deserved to win.
Right.
We're talking about last season, though. We're kind of digressing. He did play a pretty slick game.
But you know what? It's okay for us to talk about last season, because I think it kind of is playing with this conversation that we're having here. And also a point for you guys too is that Shari and I are probably going to wrap this up. I'd say probably within the next 10 minutes. We don't plan on making these be long videos. And so we were thinking 30 minutes to begin with, but maybe we'll
tops.
Maybe we'll do another 10 minutes.
We shouldn't talk about it for longer than how the show is. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So before I kind of say what I was going to say, let's look. Jay Twizzle, who I'm a fan of right here. Ideal scenario. Tyler wins POV and uses it. And David uses his power. And Christmas has to nominate 2 new people.
Ooh.
Tyler wins POV and uses it.
Who do you think Tyler would save? I actually don't think Tyler would want to rock the boat.
Right.
Because Christmas is in his committee alliance.
Right.
But I see what you're saying. Ideal scenario, it would be really fun.
Right. That would be the ideal. Right. Very good point, Jay.
And we didn't talk about the episode before this where Kaser got kicked out. But I really liked that he said, and I agreed with Kaser, that it was getting boring. No one was mixing anything up. No one's doing anything brave or, really fighting for this.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate too, because he brought up good points and he was on the money for some of his points he made in his speech, but he was a little off the mark when he said that love triangle thing. And we saw some repercussions of that.
Did he mean that did he actually mean that he thinks that there's some romance going on?
I don't think so. I didn't take it that way.
Just that they're both super close with Cody.
Yeah.
I do think they are both super close with
Yeah.
Cody. I mean, who wouldn't want to be in a love triangle with Cody?
And and just a little shout out to Jay Twizzle too. He shared with us a couple of Big Brother like charts and stuff. And there's one that just shows all the different alliances and like how they interweave with each other. And it's interesting because like Cody is like right there in the middle, man. You know? Yeah. So unless you have one other point, I was going to go back to that thing I was saying about the alphas.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So what makes Big Brother interesting when you have totally new players, or maybe even a few returning players, is that you do have this dynamic where there's these alphas that kind of run the house, but then you have like an opposition to them, right? And usually that very clever sly player is on the other side of them. He's not with them. And it makes for an interesting first part of the season. And then eventually they do get rid of those alphas, and then the other person kind of rises up. And the alphas usually do have like an attractive woman that's like with them usually, but they don't have anything like that this season because like last season, the audience was really upset. Now, what's interesting though is that the audience is still upset now because even though there's not that alpha personality, there still is like just dominant force in the house. And I think that people who watch competition shows, reality shows, they want to root for the underdog. They want people that don't have it made winning. And
I think that's true because I'm actually a big fan of Cody, but I'm so like bored by his running everything that I wish someone would do something. Now I wish he would get nominated, and I wish he'd have to work to get himself off the block or work to get votes to stay.
Yeah.
And I would want him to stay. I want Cody to stay because he's one of my favorite players. I just wish it wasn't so easy for him.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the problem, right? Is that when it's easy for the players, it's boring for us, right? And I think that like for a good 2 weeks, maybe more, it was pretty boring. It's just like, okay, Memphis won. And that was after Cody won, right?
He started texting during an episode.
Yeah.
I was offended, but he was bored.
Yeah, exactly, you know?
I also just want to say I'm so disappointed in the women. And I feel this way every season that they cannot get together, that they cannot be true and loyal and smart players, as smart as the men are, and they always turn on each other. What did Christmas do? She put up two girls.
Two women.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know why they always protect the guys in the Big Brother game. And it's not just this season, it's season after season after season.
Yeah.
The women can't seem, they either have to get with a man as in a romance, or they have to like fight with each other and destroy their own alliances. It's so frustrating. I wish the casting directors would find someone like Parvati from Survivor who it's not that I need a girl alliance to rise up, although that would be refreshing.
Yeah.
I just want to see at least a couple of girls stand by each other and go far.
Yeah.
You know, to set a decent example, the way that Cody and Derek have in the past, you know, the way that the season Enzo was on, there's three guys who just went, the brigade, they went really far. They're very true to each other. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. And that's the whole thing, right? Is because Big Brother is kind of like Survivor, where it's like a social experiment. We have all these random people thrown in, and these people are supposed to represent the American demographic. And it's just interesting how you see these patterns like happen over and over again. And you see these same kind of winners over and over again. And it would be nice to see a change of pace and things to shift. I think that with this particular season, and this could be Jay Twizzle again. Remember the poker player woman from a few years ago? Her and Rachel. The poker player are the only ones I remember. Okay. The poker player did not win, though, right?
No, she didn't. She would cry all the time. And I think she got to about third place or something.
Yeah.
Was she with Rachel?
No. That's Rachel's different season. But like Rachel's a winner.
Yes, I know. Rachel and Nicole.
Right.
And there's another player named Jordan who married
Jordan,
Jeff, and she won. But I do think those are the only women. And how many seasons?
And
how many seasons are there?
Really, that's it?
Yes, and let me say, none of those women got very far without their boyfriend. I mean, both Rachel and Jordan both married men they met in Big Brother.
Right. Right.
I don't think the poker player won though.
I don't think she did. If I remember, like with
what's her name? So I'm very sorry. If
Someone Google it while we can actually Google ourselves. But anyway, I remember it was that challenge they do in the finale where it has like the 2 scales, and every time you answer correctly, you go up. You know that?
Yes.
And I remember she got to that point, so she must have been in the final 3.
I think she was in the final 3.
Yeah. And I remember her scale went down, and she was all like devastated.
Was she in the season with the twins, those twin girls that they were switching out? I think that was her season.
She was, because the twins were with Judas, whoever the guy who was Judas.
So did one of the twins win?
No.
They were in that season.
No, well, see, the thing is, it wouldn't have been a woman, right? Because then you would remember.
I think I would.
Who won that? That's like 4 seasons ago.
You know what? It would have been sort of fun for Rachel to come back as an all-star.
Yeah.
I'm guessing she refused.
Yeah. So you know what? Do you think, is there anything we didn't cover? I know we were all over the map, but for you 3 that are in here with us, you are awesome. But
real quick, I want to say they threw in these 3 powers, but I think they did it a little late because personally, as a longtime fan who's watched many seasons, I was, of course, rooting for Janelle and Kaser. And I liked Nicole A. And those are Janelle and Nicole A., 2 fan favorites. They voted out very quickly. I just wish they'd brought the powers in a little bit sooner to maybe give those people more of a chance. So
yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, I agree. It's too bad that Kaser and Janelle played that
the
VIP
safety,
or whatever it was. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So early on, right? Because they just shot themselves.
That was not smart. They're usually smarter players than that, but I think it was the first week. So
yeah, they didn't really see what was going on yet. Yeah. So anyway, just in this chat right here, or if you end up becoming a fan of my channel, the Anchorpete channel, and you want to like leave a comment, if you haven't liked and subscribed, that'd be awesome. Please like and subscribe. We're gonna do this hopefully 2 nights a week. We're thinking about doing it every Sunday around this time, and then we're also thinking about maybe doing like a Friday as a recap of Wednesday and Thursday. We'll see how it goes. We'll make an announcement. But if you, like I said, like and subscribe, that'd be awesome. But if you do that right now here in this chat or on my other chat, you can tell us the answer to this question. What do you think are some of the lamest seasons of Big Brother? And you and I, we can say our answers right now, okay? But some of the lamest seasons of Big Brother. So I think that last season was pretty lame when Mickey won, because just it had a whole bunch of unlikable people and a pretty unlikable guy won. Then the season that had Gina Marie and the red-haired guy won. That season was.
I think his name was Andy. It was a terrible season.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And then there was one other one that was pretty rough too. But one thing I should point out too, right before we end, is that I have not seen every single season of Big Brother. Shari has. Right, Shari has been watching it since the beginning, just like Survivor.
I didn't watch the first season because I actually tried, but they would vote people out based on people calling in. It was a big popularity contest. So
last year, Jay Twizzle.
Yeah. Right, Mickey's awful.
Yeah. So, but Shari's been watching for like years and years and years. I started on the season that Enzo was first on with the Brigade, and I think that's one of the best seasons ever. And I also think that the season with, Frankie and Derek, that might be the best season.
They were all in one season. That was so good.
And the guy who was Beast Mode, too.
Yeah, they were.
I love that.
Nicole and Cody are from that season.
Oh, that was such a good season, man. And then stuff with Paul was really good, too. But, So the ones I didn't like were when Andy won and when Mickey won. And there was, like, one other one that was just like, oof.
I don't know if you saw a long time ago when Boogie won. He was just a miserable person and just a terrible person.
Yeah.
Anyway, he won one season that was really lame.
Yeah.
He beat Janelle.
Yeah.
She was in the top 3 and he got rid of her and it was just sucked.
Yeah. So do you have anything else to add or are we good?
No, I didn't want to go too long, so I think we should stop.
Yeah. So listen, Jay Twizzle, thank you for keeping the chat alive. I think we should have Jay Twizzle be on here with us at some point.
I think so too.
Yeah. But just whether you're watching this later on my Anchorpete channel or not, thank you so much. And we will be here probably on Friday to talk about some more Big Brother. All right. Now we're going to awkwardly end the stream. Okay.
Good night.
Good night. Yes, we do want it to end. It's still taping us. End. There we go.